Today I'm going to show you a super quick anterior pelvic tilt correction routine that you can go through at home. Anterior pelvic tilt basically means that your pelvis is tilted forwards. Anterior means towards the front. So when you have anterior pelvic tilt, your pelvis is tilted forwards excessively like this. And what's associated with that is extremely tight hip flexors and low back muscles. Make sure to follow along with this routine at home. Do this as many times as you need to, okay? All of these exercises are specifically designed to address the muscle imbalances associated with anterior pelvic tilt. Don't forget to subscribe down below and hit that notification bell so that you know every time I upload a new video. Having said that, let's get started. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna start with is just a little warm up for the hips, okay? So I'm gonna have you sit like this. Okay, good posture, keep your chin down, okay, head up, get as tall as you can, and we're just going to externally rotate and internally rotate the legs like this, okay. We're going to do a couple reps of these. Just keep going along with me at home there. Alright, we're just trying to get the hips warmed up for rotation here. The next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to get down on one knee, okay, just like me right here. We're going to posteriorly tilt the pelvis, which means draw the front up, pull the back down. Okay, the opposite of anterior pelvic tilt. We're going to maintain this position of the pelvis the whole time. Shift forwards, squeeze the glute on the leg that's down. Okay, we're going to do about 10 or so reps of these. I can't count very well. I think that was 5. 6. We're squeezing the glute the whole time here. Okay, it's really important to squeeze the glute here, right? What we're trying to do is not just stretch the hip flexors, but use this as an opportunity to activate the glutes as well, okay? So now we're gonna switch sides. We're gonna do the same exact thing on the other side. Remember, we wanna be in that posterior pelvic tilt position the entire time here, okay? Not like this, but like this, okay? Shift forwards, squeeze that glute really hard. As you shift your hips forwards, come back. Maintaining that posterior pelvic tilt the whole time. You're getting kind of a double whammy from this stretch here because not only, like I said, are you opening up the front of the hips, but you're also activating that glute, all of which needs to be done if you're going to be able to correct your anterior pelvic tilt. Okay, so we're going to do about 10 reps on this side as well. And then we're going to do one more set each side. Okay, so we're going to go back to this leg. Same thing applies, squeezing the glute, okay, maintaining that posterior pelvic tilt. We're not letting that back arch. We're going to go for about another 10 reps here. Every single rep you do, try to squeeze the glutes a little bit harder. Okay, remember it's the glute on the side with the knee that's down that we're squeezing here. And again, I apologize. It's hard to count and talk to you guys. Okay, I think that was about 10. We do want to be shooting for 10 each side. We're going to go ahead and do the other side again here. Again, posterior pelvic tilt, shift forwards, squeeze that glute. Keep your core tight too, okay? Abs tight, glute on the side with the down knee. Both areas should be tight, glutes and core. And we're just gonna crank out another 10 on this side and then we're gonna move on to the next exercise. Okay, so the next exercise that we're gonna do is actually a superset. It's 2 exercises stacked together back to back with no rest, okay? And the first thing that we're gonna do is some hip thrusters, okay? With a posterior pelvic tilt. You're going to lay on your back, just like this. You're going to draw the front of the hips up towards your face, okay, rotating the pelvis this way. You're going to maintain that position of the pelvis the entire time, okay? Do not let it tilt forwards, okay? From here, we're just going to push up, squeeze the glutes as hard as you can at the top, maintaining that posterior pelvic tilt position. We're going to do 10 reps of these. 4, 5, squeezing the glutes hard at the top. 6, 7, 8, 9. One more. We're not letting that posterior tilt break ever. We're not ever letting it tilt forwards. And 10, that's our last rep. We're immediately going to superset this with what's called a RKC plank. Okay, you're going to get into regular plank position just like this, except you're going to posterior tilt the pelvis. Okay, you're going to tuck it underneath you like that. Squeeze your abs. Squeeze your glutes as hard as you can, okay? We want to basically have a flat lower back while we're doing this. We want the hips about level with the shoulders. We want the head to be straight, okay? And you're squeezing your core as hard as you can here. We're gonna hold this for 30 seconds. We've got about 6 more seconds. All right, keep squeezing, 2 more seconds left, and relax, okay? So this is one that we're actually gonna do 3 cycles of, okay? At this point, you can take a little bit of a break. In between that superset, we'll take about 15 to 20 seconds here, and then we'll do another one. One of the things that all of these exercises that I've showed you thus far have in common is they're all being done, or at least the majority of them, with a posterior pelvic tilt, okay? And that's super, super important because you have to spend more time in that posterior pelvic tilt position in order to basically train your body to maintain that, okay? The more time you spend in anterior pelvic tilt, the more you reinforce that. So it's very, very important that you're doing these with that posterior pelvic tilt, okay? We're gonna go into set number 2 now. Pretty much the exact same thing. Tuck that pelvis, draw the front up, okay? Maintain that position the whole time. And just realize that your glutes are gonna contract the most at the very top of the motion here, at end range hip extension. So really kind of focus on that. Give them a good squeeze at the top, okay? And make sure that you're maintaining that posterior pelvic tilt the whole time. You might notice that your hips don't go up as high as they normally would if you're allowing your hips to tilt forwards. That's okay, it doesn't really matter. What matters here is the glute contraction, not the height of your hips, okay? 10 reps. Now we're gonna switch and we're gonna do our RKC plank, all right? Get into regular plank position here, and then tuck that pelvis underneath you. Try to maintain a deep contraction of your core muscles as well as your glutes as you're holding this position, squeezing your abs as hard as you can, squeezing your glutes as hard as you can, making sure that your head is in a neutral position, okay? And your hips are not sagging lower than shoulder height. Shaking here is normal. Keep going, you got about 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and rest, okay? So we've got one more of these that we're gonna do. Like I said, we're gonna take about 15 seconds to 20 seconds of rest in between sets of these. So, you know, just hang out and, you know, catch your breath. And we're gonna go into our next set in, actually right now, okay? So this is our last one of these, right? We're gonna lay back. You know the drill by this point. Draw the front of the hips up. Maintain that position. 10 reps here. Just a little tip, if you are not feeling your glutes contract a lot, you can actually palpate them with your hands. Use your hands, grab your glutes as you're doing it, okay? This will give you some neurological feedback and help you develop a greater mind-muscle connection with your glutes. Squeeze them as you do it. You'll find that you're able to actually get the muscles to contract better with your nervous system if you're giving yourself a little bit of feedback touching the glutes with your hands, okay? Really squeeze hard at the top, maintaining that posterior pelvic tilt position the whole time. I don't know how many reps that was. We'll do one more. Squeeze hard, and right into RKC plank. One final set here, tuck that pelvis, and we're gonna hold this, you know the drill, for 30 seconds. Squeeze everything. You're never too advanced for planks or any variation of a plank because you can always squeeze harder, all right? Always remember that. Some people think that they're too conditioned for planks, or planks are too basic of an exercise, and that's just not the case, okay? Right now I'm squeezing as hard as I can, and my whole body's shaking, and that's what we want. And time. All right, next exercise we're gonna go into is what I call an anti-extension plank. We're gonna do 2 sets of this. We're gonna do it for reps, okay? Here's how you're gonna get set up for it. You're essentially going to get set up the same way as we did for the RKC plank, okay? You're going to posteriorly tilt that pelvis, all right? Make sure that your hips are level with your shoulders, but this time you're going to walk your hands out just a little bit out in front of you, and you're going to put your hands down on the ground, okay? From here, you're going to push yourself up and then come back down, just like this. We're going to do 10 of these. The whole point here is you're not letting your lower back arch. Okay, you're maintaining that flat lumbar spine as you crank out about 10 of these reps. And that's it, okay? If this is too hard for you, okay, that's probably because your arms are out too far. The further out your arms are in front of you, the harder this is going to be. The more load that's gonna put on your low back, okay? So pull the elbows down and start, pretty close in, just coming up a little bit. As you get stronger and as this becomes easier, then you can bring your arms out in front of you towards your head more, okay? Does that make sense? We're gonna do one more set right now and I'll kind of elaborate on that, okay? So it's gonna be easiest right here, right? The further out you go with your hands, the harder it is, okay? But again, posterior tilt that pelvis, keep the glutes contracted, your core contracted. We're gonna do 10 more reps. Keeping your abs as hard and tight and contracted as possible. I think we have 2 more. 1, 2. Okay, so like I said, the whole point with that and all of these exercises is maintaining that posterior pelvic tilt and not letting that lower back arch. So those were basically all of our hardest hitting exercises. Now we're gonna do a little bit more stretching just as a cool down here, okay? So I just call this modified child's pose with kind of a lat focused stretch. And that's what we're gonna do. So you're gonna sit back on your heels like this. You're gonna bring your arms out in front of you like this. And really what I want you to focus on doing right now is simply creating as much space as possible between the tips of your fingers and the back of your pelvis, okay? So you're making your body as long as you can here. This is gonna stretch out some of that lower back musculature that is tight. Okay, try to do this with the posterior pelvic tilt as well. Kind of squeeze the glutes. Use your ab muscles to draw the front of your pelvis up. Come up on your fingers now, okay? Sink down. Try to drive your chest to the floor while you're up on your fingers. And we're just gonna hang out in this position. From here, we're gonna make this more of a lat focused stretch. We're gonna get our right hand, bring it over so that it's in front of the left shoulder, okay? And then you're gonna shift your weight towards the right, like this, okay? This is gonna place a huge stretch on your lat here. The more of a posterior pelvic tilt you can maintain, the greater the lat stretch is gonna be. And we're just gonna hold this for a few seconds, really leaning into it really hard. You're gonna experiment with different angles until you feel the lat being stretched the most. But yeah, we're just gonna hold this for a few more seconds and then we're gonna flip flop and do the other side, okay? The reason why stretching the lats is important if you have anterior pelvic tilt is because they actually attach on the lumbar spine, the low back, and the back of the pelvis. And they're one of the muscles that are likely tight in you if you actually have anterior pelvic tilt. So it's important to stretch them and they often kind of go unaddressed when it comes to fixing anterior pelvic tilt. Most people focus on the hip flexors and the glutes, their core muscles, which we did today. Those are all good, but you can't forget about the lats. So we're gonna hold this a little bit more, leaning into it. We're gonna do one more little variation of this that involves a contract and relax, okay? You're gonna get a lot more release this way with this variation. So we're gonna set up the exact same way. Right arm over left shoulder, okay? This time though, instead of just hanging out here and holding this as a static stretch, I want you to drive your arm this way, okay? Without actually letting it move, okay? So you're gonna activate your lats as though you're going to pull your arm like this, but you're not gonna let that happen. You're gonna get that muscle to light up, your arm stays glued to the ground, you're gonna squeeze that lat as hard as you can, and then you're gonna relax, okay? And sink a little bit deeper into the range of motion. And now you're just relaxed, now you're holding it kind of like the first variation that we did. You're gonna do that one more time, contract it, again, as though you're pulling your arm that way, like you're doing a pull-up or a lat pull-down, getting that right lat to fire, and then you're gonna relax, and you're gonna be able to sink into a deeper range of motion. This type of stretch basically tricks the nervous system into getting the muscle to relax more effectively, okay? So we just did 2 of those. We're gonna do another 2 on the other side here. Arm out in front of the right shoulder this time, your left arm out in front of your right shoulder. Contract as though you're trying to pull that arm like this, okay? Get that left lat to fire up. And then relax completely and sink deeper into the stretch. We're gonna do that one more time here. Contract, squeeze it hard. The harder you squeeze here, the more release you're gonna get. So really activate it hard. And then relax and sink deeper into the stretch. there you have it. I really hope that you enjoyed today's routine. If you did enjoy this workout and you want another workout similar to this workout that's designed specifically to address anterior pelvic tilt, then make sure to open up the description down below and click the first link there. What that link will do is it'll take you over to my website. I'll ask you to put in your email. As soon as you put in your email, you'll be given another anterior pelvic tilt workout. Similar to this one, there's some overlap, but you're also gonna get some new exercises. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel up here and also click that notification bell down below, wherever that is on the screen for you. If you wanna see another video similar to this one, click over here. And that's pretty much it for today. Hope you have a good one.